Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is Friday, August 22nd, 2025. It's the end of the week, the end of the day, our favorite time, the Intelligence Community Roundtable with my dear friends and longtime collaborators, Larry Johnson and Ray McGovern. Then a 2-minute clip from the Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief at the UN. You may have seen it. It's a long clip. Chris edited it down. It's quite telling. Chris.
It is a famine. The Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land that forces a parent to choose which child to feed, that forces people to risk their lives to seek food. It is a famine that we repeatedly warned of, but that the international media has not been allowed in to cover, to bear witness. It is a famine in 2025, a 21st century famine, watched over by drones and the most advanced military technology in history. It is a famine openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war. Everyone owns this. The Gaza famine is the world's famine. It is a famine that asks, but what did you do? A famine caused by cruelty, justified by revenge, enabled by indifference, and sustained by complicity. It is a famine that therefore also asks, and what now will you do? To Prime Minister Netanyahu and anyone who can reach him, enough. Ceasefire. Open the crossings, north and south, all of them. Let us get food and other supplies in, unimpeded. End the retribution. It is too late for far too many, but not for everyone in Gaza. Enough. For humanity's sake, let us in.
Ray, can you even reply to that? I know this guy is almost as eloquent as you are and almost as moving as you have been on this topic. I have goosebumps on my arms, and this is the third time I watched this clip today. Chris gave it to me a little while ago.
Judge, the question is, what can we do?
Right.
Medea Benjamin has an incredible clip addressed to her Jewish relatives and all the Jews in the United States to support the 21%, only 21% of the Israeli population that is at all troubled by forced starvation in Gaza. She's eloquent. We really need to do that. Now, the other thing is, how about us? Now, Aaron Bushnell, the Air Force person who self-immolated before the Israeli embassy a year and a half ago, said this. She said, look, I asked myself, what would I do if I were Nazi Germany? Or what would I do if I were during slavery? Well, the real question is, what am I doing now with genocide in Gaza? And I ask you the same question, says Aaron. You're doing it now. You're doing it now, or you're not doing it now. All of us are impelled not to be neutral on a question like this. To be neutral is to be on the side of the oppressor. And I have that directly from Bishop Tutu of South Africa.
Larry, Jeff Sachs calls Netanyahu the greatest monster on the planet right now. And it appears he is.
Yeah, I couldn't argue that at all. There is still a lot that nations can do. And I include in this China, Russia, India, all
what
of
can
Europe.
They do? You mean militarily?
No. Cut off cut off all imports and exports, all trade between those countries and Israel. Stop the trade. We saw the Russians actually made sort of an indirect move on Monday when they took out the Sokar oil terminal in Odessa, because that's owned by Azerbaijan and was a major supplier of oil to Israel. That oil terminal accounts for 15% of Azerbaijan's gross domestic product. So Israel really did send a message to Azerbaijan. So Israel's going to have to find some replacement for that. But seriously, if they are economically isolated, they can't stand. They can't continue. They will be forced to fold. And yet, so many of these countries, and including the United States and Europe, continue to trade with them and continue to allow them to, keep their unemployment numbers down and to have a functioning economy.
How do we get the message that has rocked the three of us and the thousands watching to the person who is funding all of this and who never says no to Netanyahu, President Trump?
We tell the world that we think President Trump is motivated not only by this slavish devotion to the interests of Israel, but also because Netanyahu has blackmail material on Trump in the Epstein files. Now, I speculated about that 3 weeks ago. Now we have some concrete evidence from a Mossad agent who handled Maxwell and his daughter and Epstein himself. And he said, look, there's stuff in there. Please, Mr. Trump, just release it. That way you can end the genocide. You can end the blackmail. It's very clear that there's something extra that Netanyahu has on Trump. We ought to educate the American people because this is heinousness squared, okay? Heinousness in forced starvation and genocide, and prompted by the violation, the sexual predating, the violation of little girls. My God, we ought to need it. We have to do something about that to let people know, look, release those Epstein files and see what Trump is involved in. And then maybe this thing can be resolved when the blackmail material is no longer there.
Well, I think we'll end it at that. I still have goosebumps on my arms. This was just profound what he said. There is a longer version. I'll ask Chris to post both versions, but this is profound, articulate, eloquent, moving, and profound. Guys, thank you very much.